Okay, we'll go ahead and start them. Gauragraganya gana gocha goloduharam Gauranga Kuritama Gopyata Kopa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Nagora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachia Dile Kakola Kahe Premananda Himona Gauranga Hridoya Dariya Bola Bhaja Gauranga Kaha Gauranga Laha Gaurangera Namare Jai Jana Gauranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Prana Re Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Bhidana Parama Pumarta Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Mudgavirapi Gopala Sri Kriyat Kripaya Jadi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitva Risha Yustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathabda Brajabala Bapahimam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we can recite this prayer to Narottam Das Thakur. Shri Krishna Nama Amrita Barshi Vaktra Chandra Prabhat Vasta Tamo Baraya Gauranga Deva Anucharaya Namo Namah Srila Narottamaya. Again and again I offer my obeisances unto Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He is indeed a true follower of Lord Gauranga Deva, the nectarian shower of the holy name of Krishna radiating from the moon of his mouth destroys the darkness of ignorance. So I'm going to thank everybody for coming today. Ursula is also here. She's our guest today, so everybody be nice to her. Like she's from Debrecen. She's a professor, and she has a lot of students and teaches a lot of people. She's been practicing Krishna conscious for a long time. So we've been going over Prem Bhakti Chandrika, the Moonlight Rays of Bhakti by Srila Narottam Das Thakur. And we're started the fifth song some time back. And this fifth song is called Raganuga Bhakti Riti, which is kind of a glimpse into the path of loving attachment. And Narottam is speaking about some things which a lot of times in our society we feel are very confidential, and sometimes devotees feel very uncomfortable speaking about. I can understand why that is, because it's not something that we speak about for the public, but we should market that it is something Srila Prabhupada speaks about in Nectar Devotion and teachings of Lord Chaitanya and in different writings. As we spoke about in our last few sessions. So sometimes we feel uncomfortable because we're used to just hearing preaching for the public. But this is something also for the devotees. And actually, what we're going to be going over today, and like in our last session, was a little different than what you usually hear. We spoke something about the different Sakhis, just getting to know them, hearing their names and what they look like and who their husbands are and what they do and some simple things. So in this session, we're going to hear something more about different groups of gopis and the most confidential of the Sakhis. And let's go ahead and put a verse on the board, and then we'll continue from there. So this is the fourth verse in this fifth song. Samha sneha visham sneha narkariha dui leka kahi matra adika sneha gan nirantara taki sange Krishna kata lila range narma saki e sabhajanam. Some of the Sakhis are more affectionate toward Krishna, and some are more affectionate towards Sri Radhika. All of them remain constantly with Radha and Krishna, engaged in singing their pastimes. These Sakhis are called the most confidential Sakhis. So in Krishna consciousness, if we don't understand something about the devotees of the Lord, there's no hope in developing bhakti. And for us, the most important devotees of all are the gopis of Braj. And I want to read a little something that we've quoted several times in our last sessions from Srila Prabhupada, but I think it's very significant. This is, again, something from Prabhupada. It was a conversation he was having with the editors of Back to Godhead, and they were speaking about the standards for Back to Godhead magazine, the magazine which is meant for introducing Krishna consciousness to new people. And here's what Prabhupada said. The policy should be that the people should not understand gopis to be like ordinary girls or like that. You should be careful to present the gopis, but it does not mean that we shall not utter even the name of the gopis. We have taken a vow to boycott the gopis. No, they are our worshipable devotees. How can we avoid them? So Narottam Das Thakur is giving us this Prem Bhakti Chandrika, as we described in our first session, it's been maybe a year now, that Gorkashwaradas Babaji was once asked, how can you develop Krishna Prem? And he said, oh, that's very easy. You just take a few paisa and go to the market and purchase a copy of Prem Bhakti Chandrika, and you take shelter of that. So Prem Bhakti Chandrika, I would suggest, for our perspective, when we're getting used to some of these things, we could look at it something like the Nectar of Devotion, where he's speaking about different types of bhakti, what is Vaidhi Bhakti, what is Bhav Bhakti, what is Prema Bhakti, and the different types of devotees. And he begins by glorifying Gurudev and the devotees in general and the six Goswamis. And now he's speaking something about the gopis. So we don't want to avoid this. At the same time, we don't want to try to artificially make this into like our main sadhana or something. I'd like to look a little bit back in our last session. Let's see here. Let's bring this up on the board. Here's a verse from the last session. We spoke something about the Astasaki. Sri Radhikara Saki Jata Taha Ba Kahiba Kata Mukhya Saki Kori Ganan. He spoke about who are the Mukhya Sakis, or most important Sakis. Lalita, Vishaka Tata, Suchitra, Chambakalata, Jangadevi, Sudevi, Katana. Tunga Vidya, Indureka, E Astasaki Leka, Ebi Kahi, Narma Saki Gan. These are the Narma Sakis. They're also known as the Astasakis. And these are very most dear gopis of Srimati Radharani. And as Srila Prabhupada said, we cannot avoid them. We may try to avoid them, we can't avoid them. It's very, very important. We understand something about them, but we want to understand from our proper perspective. And as Srila Prabhupada said that we should be very careful. He said you should be careful to present the gopis. You could take that sentence in two ways. That it's important that you present the gopis, or probably more Prabhupada meant, you should be careful when you present the gopis. But either way, we should be careful. We should present the gopis, but we should be careful about it. So in our last session, we spoke a little philosophically about the position of the gopis and what they do for the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Let's look back at that, just a couple of verses. Sabe eka shaki ganir ihan adikar. He says that it's sabi eka. Eka means one or only. That it's only these gopis who have the adhikar to appreciate the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And it's these gopis who perform this lila vishtar, or they're expanding the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And that's a very, very important thing. This is our line. Nikunja yuno rati keli sidya ya yali bir yuktir apekshaniya. We sing every morning that Guru Dev is a gopi. We should understand something about that. What does that mean? And I want to try today to speak in a simple way, just to introduce you mostly to some of these concepts. As we went on in our last session in Madhya Lila chapter 8, Kaviraj Goswami continued, Saki Bina, without these gopis, Elista Pushta Nahi Hoy, the pastimes would not be nourished. Saki Lila Bishtariya Saki Ashvadoy. And the gopis, by their cooperating, by their being with Radha and Krishna, they expand the pastimes and they're able to taste the pastimes in that way. So, as we spoke in our last sessions, Narottam Das Thakur, in this song, he's been speaking about Rag Bhakti, and then he has a vision of Radha and Krishna, and he spoke something about the appearance of Radha and Krishna and the jewelry. And as we spoke about in that session, we read from Rupa Goswami's Radha Krishna Ganesh Deepika, and spoke about how all the different jewelry of Radharani is non-different from Radharani, and it represents different Shaktis of hers. Some of these gopis are also different Shaktis of Srimati Radharani. And by their presence, the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, they're expanded and they're able to relish them, and they can share this relishment with others. And this is the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then let's turn now to Ujjwal Lamani. Ujjwal Lamani is a bit of a postgraduate literature. Rupa Goswami has given us Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is one of Srila Prabhupada's favorite books. And Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is the ocean of rasa, and it describes all the different basic rasas, mostly focusing on Madhurya rasa, the rasa of the gopis. And then he wrote a whole separate book called Ujjwal Lamani, just to speak about the gopis. So in chapter 4, he speaks something about, he categorizes the gopis, and we're going to be looking a little bit at that today, just in a general overview of what are the categories of different types of gopis. Yasya sarva tame yute sarva sadguna manditaha samantan mada vakarshi vibramaha santi subruvaha. Tastu Brindavaneshvaraya Sakya Pancha Vidamataha Sakyascha Nitya Sakyascha Prana Sakyascha Kashtana Priya Sakyascha Parama Preshta Sakyascha Vishrutaha. So here he mentions that Sakya Pancha Vidamata, there's 5 different categories of gopis of Krishna, of Srimati Radharani, associates of Srimati Radharani. All of them, Sarva Sadguna Manditaha, they all have very, very wonderful qualities, and all of them have the ability to completely attract Krishna. So these 5 different types are Sakhis, general gopis, Nitya Sakhis, Prana Sakhis, Priya Sakhis, and Parama, Preshta Sakhis. So we're going to just give a little overview of this today and understand something about this. And as we're going along, we hear something more about it. So then Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Rupa Goswami, they divide the gopis again into 3 other types. And these are important for us to understand. This is actually practical for us to understand. This is our life and goal of our life. If we don't understand this, we really don't have a life. So these 5 different types of Sakhis fit again into 3 different categories: Visham Sneha, Sama Sneha, and Adhika Sneha. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Chaitanya Siksamrita speaks about this, how Kusumika, Vindya, Dhanishta, they're the Sakhis. And they have this Visham Sneha, which means Visham means similar or the same. They have the same kind of affection for Krishna, or excuse me, they have more affection. Visham, Sneha, they have more affection for Krishna. Sama means equal, Visham means more. They have more affection for Krishna than they do for Srimati Radharani. Of the Sama Sneha Gopis, who are the Nitya Sakhis, that's Mani Manjari, Kasturi Manjari, and others, those are Nitya Sakhis. And then Sashimukhi, Vasanti, Lasika, and so on, they're the Prana Sakhis, and all of them are Adhika Sneha. They have more affection for Srimati Radharani. And that Adhika Sneha, which is what Narottam Das Thakur is speaking about here in our song today, is the Manjaris. And that's what I want to discuss a little something today in terms of conception. Who are the Manjaris? What is this Manjari Bhav? Why is it so important? I don't want to just lean into the side about what's illegal and be concerned about that. We've done that quite a bit in our past sessions, but still we can't ever, I think, stress enough that this is something very sober and very serious, something which is much higher than ourselves, and we have to understand our adhikar for it. But we should, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, and I'd like to repeat very much, we should know such a thing exists. So then he goes on to describe the Asasakis, Alita Vishaka, and the 6 other Asasakis. These are the Parama Presha Sakis, and they're Samasneha. They have equal affection for Radha and Krishna, but even though they have that equal affection, still they have this concept that we belong to Srimati Radharani. That's their primary conception. So this is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. A year or so ago, before some of you joined, we went through some of the Mangalacharana prayers that my Guru Maharaj gave for Bhagavatam and for Chaitanya Charitamrita. And there's one verse from 𝗣𝗿𝗄𝗺, which is very important. It's the 4th verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'd like to look a little at that right now. This gives us some concept of the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in connection with these gopis. He says that Anarpita Churim Chudak Karuna Avatirna Kalo Samarpayitam Anuchala Rasam Svabhakti Sriyam. That he came to give something which Anarpita Churim Chudat had not been given in a long, long time. And what was that thing he wanted to give? Samarpayitam. He wanted to give Unata Ujjvala Rasa Swabhakti Sriyam. He wanted to give the Swabhakti Sriyam his own bhakti, Swabhakti Sriyam, the treasure of his own bhakti, which is the essence of Unata Ujjvala Rasa, or the essence of Madhurya Ras, the essence of Gopi Bhav, which is Manjari Bhav. And this had not been given in a long, long time before. So again, we should just understand this in a conceptual way. My Guru Maharaj sometimes would give classes, and he would tell us that you're not qualified to hear this, I'm not qualified to speak this, but you should know that such a thing exists. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami, when he speaks about different types of bhakti, he speaks about the essence of bhakti, this Swabhakti Sriyam, as tad bhavachatmikata sambhava madhurja kamita, the attitude of wanting to assist Radharani. That's a very, very high thing. We want to, most people, they're thinking about their own pleasure. But the essence of this particular bhav is that they want to assist Srimati Radharani, and they want to assist the Yuteshwaris, the different gopi leaders. And that thing is called Tad Bhavachatmika or Sakhi Bhav. And the affection that the leader has for his Sakhis, Rupa Goswami says is a 𝗣𝗿𝗶𝗺𝗵, and he describes it, Sanchari Syat Samanova, Krishna Ratya Suridrati, Adhika Pushyamana Ched, Bhavalasa Ratihi. This is Bhavalasa Rati. And he explains that this Bhavalasa Rati, if the Rati is directed to Radharani or another Sakhi, and that Rati or that devotion, that love that they have, is equal or less than the Rati they have toward Krishna, then that Rati directed to Radharani, the Sakhis, is called Sanchari Rati. It's nourishing the Rati to Krishna. If the Rati directed to Radharani or the Sakhi is greater, the affection and love to Radharani or the Sakhis is greater than that for Krishna and is constantly increasing, that's called Bhavalasa Rati. And this is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. This is what Krishna, in the Gopi Gita, he tells the gopis, Na parayeham naravadya samyujam, that I don't know how to repay my debt to you, because you don't want anything for yourself. And in particular, it's this Bhavalasa Rati that he came to give. And he told the gopis, Pratiyatu sadhana, let your own mood be your glory. This is the only way I can repay you. So he had to come as a sadhu. He had to come in that mood, and he came to give this thing. So we should be careful. We should not be lazy in our Krishna consciousness. We should understand something about this. And no, again, it's not perhaps something which is the most relevant for us at this time. But if we don't know where we're going, if we don't know that our goal is Vrindavan, then you might end up in New York or in Budapest or some other place. We have to have a clear understanding of where it is that we're going. So Jiva Goswami comments on this verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Sayadi Krishna Visaya Yaya Ratya Samasyad Unavasyat Tada Krishna Vishayaya Ratehe. If the Rati directed toward Radharani or another ideal devotee is equal or less than that to Krishna, then that's the Sanchari Bhav. We read in the translation to that. And if it's greater and is constantly increasing with affection, Pushyamana, then that's Bhavalasa Rati. So this devotion to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the key. My Guru Maharaj would quite often quote a verse from Prabodhananda Saraswati's Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natakam, which is a very beautiful verse. Yata yata gura padada vindeta bhaktim krita punya rasihi tatsotsa piti hridya kasmad rada padambo sudambu rasihi. As much as yata, as much devotion as we develop toward Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to the same extent that nectar love for service of Srimati Radharani will manifest in our heart. So this is the key for this. In our particular case, we're not focusing on the gopis, we're focusing on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But why are we focusing on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And what is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming to give? We should know that very clearly. If we're simply thinking that I'm worshiping the Lord because I want to be freed from anarthas, which means I want liberation, then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can give that. But as Prabodhananda Saraswati says in another place, Vanchitosmi, Vanchitosmi, Vanchitosmi Nasangsya, I've been cheated, I've been cheated, I've been cheated. Because I approached Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and what did I get? Maybe I got freedom from material desires. Maybe I got liberation. But I didn't get that Krishna prema that he came to give. If we meet some wealthy person on the street and they come and they give us $100, we feel, wow, my life is successful. But then we find out that the same person has been going. We went to the next street over, he started giving away $1 million bank accounts. He started giving everyone $1 million at a time. And then our $100 becomes very, very insignificant. And we lament. So we shouldn't be like that. We should be understanding of what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur speaks about this quite often. We're going to look at some today in his Vrindavan Mahimamrita. This is in the second chapter of 𝗣𝗿𝗺𝗵𝗸𝗁, and he speaks about what is good fortune, who's really gotten something. Janya loke mumuksha haribhajana paro, dhanya dhanyas tato so, dhanya ya Krishna padambuja rati paramo rukminisha priyotaha. Yashodeya priyotaha subala surid atagopa kanta priyotaha Srimad Vrindavaneshwar yati rasa visaradaka sarva murdni. A very nice verse. He says that one who strives for liberation, that person is very, very special. He's very, very fortunate. And someone who's intent on the devotional service of Krishna, they're even more fortunate. But then someone who has spontaneous attraction for Krishna's lotus feet is more fortunate still. And someone who's devoted to Krishna as the husband of Rukmini is even more fortunate, but someone who's devoted to Krishna in Vrindavan as the son of Yashoda is still more fortunate. And someone who's devoted to Krishna as a friend of Subal is yet more fortunate. And one who's devoted to Krishna as a lover of the gopis is still more fortunate. But a devotee who's overwhelmed by the nectar of love for Srimati Radharani, the beautiful queen of Vrindavan, is the most fortunate of all. This is our Siddhanta. We should know that such a thing exists. Just like if you go again to the university, we get this example sometimes. It's quite a common thing sometimes for teachers. The students, on the first day they attend class, you're studying something about, I don't know, algebra, and the teacher begins to speak about trigonometry and a lot of things which are practically difficult for you to even understand the concept of. But he does it on purpose, just to purposely blow your mind, to make you realize, wow, I really need to sit down and understand where I want to go and how far away I am from that. If we don't hear of these subjects, we won't have a goal and we won't understand how far away we are from it. Our sadhana is just fine. Our activities are perfectly fine. We don't have to add anything. We don't have to sit down and artificially try to meditate in the gopis or do this or that. What Srila Prabhupada gave is perfectly fine. Once some devotees were speaking about my Guru Maharaj, and they were saying that, I think he has some special sadhana that he does. And 𝗣𝗿𝗺𝗵 Prabhu was there. Jai Guruna's 𝗣𝗿𝗺𝗵. He's Prabhupada's disciple. He's a friend of my Guru Maharaj. And 𝗣𝗿𝗺𝗵 was saying, no. Guru Maharaj just has the same, but no. He's chanting 1 lakh a day. Or 𝗣𝗿𝗺𝗵 said, no, he's not chanting that much. No, he's doing some special thing. So 𝗣𝗿𝗺𝗵 later went to Guru Maharaj. And he said, Guru Maharaj, they're saying that you have some special sadhana that you're doing. You're chanting 64 rounds a day. And my Guru Maharaj's reply to him was, they are all fools. He said, they don't know anything. He said, I've simply chanted 60, I've never chanted more than 16 rounds. I'm just doing a service for Srila Prabhupada. And he said, and from those 16 rounds, I've realized my Swarup and the Swarup of Srila Prabhupada. That was whatever that might mean. That was the comment of my Guru Maharaj. So we should understand that such things exist in a theoretical way. It may be a lot for us. It may be something which is difficult because we don't see how it's so relevant for us, but it's a supremely relevant thing. So Prabodhananda Saraswati here is speaking about the same thing which Narottam Das Thakur is speaking about, and Rupa Goswami is speaking about, and all of our acharyas are repeatedly speaking about in Chaitanya Charitamrita and all of our Gaudiya literatures about the supremacy of this Manjari Bhav, or this 𝗣𝗿𝗺𝗺𝗺 rati. So he gives this list of persons, very fortunate. We give respect to those persons who are striving for liberation, but better than that is someone who wants service to Krishna, and better than that, and better than that, and better than that. And the best is someone who's devoted to Krishna as the lover of the gopis, but even better than that is someone who's dedicated to Srimati Radharani. Rupa Goswami speaks about this, as I mentioned, Prabodhananda Saraswati. Sanatana Goswami also in 𝗣𝗿𝗵𝗱𝗵 in the second canto, in the first chapter. Let's look at that real quick. He says here, Ye sarva nirapikshena rada dasye chava param sankirtayanti tannama tadrisha priyata mayaha. That the gopis, they're doing this sankirtan. They're chanting the names of Radha and Krishna, but they're doing it, they have this special love. They're chanting this way because they want this Radha Dasyam, this Radha Dasyechava Param. They want this topmost thing of service to Srimati Radharani. Srila Sanatana Goswami comments on this that the devotees of Sri Radha, who is the most dearly beloved of Lord Madan Gopal, are not impersonalists void of desires. They're fully confident that as Sri Radhika accepts them as her servants, everything they desire will be achieved and more. The privilege of serving Sri Radha is the rarest goal of life, and it is fitting that this privilege be attainable only by executing the most excellent of sadhanas. And here he's referring to Sankirtayanti Tannama, doing kirtan of the names of Krishna. And as we spoke many, many times, this is the kirtan of our sampradaya. We don't chant Radhe Radhe, we chant Krishna Krishna. We chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And why do we do that? Because Srimati Radharani gets pleasure from that. And that's our service. Some of the Vaishnavas in Vrindavan, they consider that Srimati Radharani is everything, and that Krishna is very, very secondary. We don't exactly see it like that in our line. In our line, our bhajan is primarily Krishna, Krishna's names, because we're pleasing Srimati Radharani. Because Radharani is not attracted to hearing her names, she's attracted to hearing the names of Krishna. So let's look back again at Prabodhananda Saraswati's Vrindavan Mahimamrita. I'm going to jump ahead now to Sataka 8, the 8th chapter. And he speaks here something about the maid servants, the dasis of Srimati Radharani. Let's see, put this on the board. Ata Vrindavaneshwarya Ratna Nupurashobhite. These devotees, they have so much love for Srimati Radharani. And there's millions and millions of these maid servants, tad yuta dinadibye sikshitardrita lalitaha. He says that they're the nature of these gopis, they're loved, they're honored, and they're carefully taught by the leaders of the gopis, the Yuteshwaris. And they have these wonderful qualities. They're very charming. They display many different types of youthful beauty. Nanavida mahascharya vastralankara charchitaha nanavida mahascharya varnakara vichitritaha. They have so many different wonderful varieties of garments and ornaments, and their complexions have a wonderful variety. Nanavida mahascharya kala nirmana panditaha. Kala nirmana means that they're very expert in pandita and all the different arts, and they play different types of musical instruments. They write poetry. There's so many things to please Radha and Krishna. And Vaya Swabhavat Pronmilan Madanenika Chestitaha. Everything they do reveals the sweetness of youth. If you see a young girl, a young boy who's about 12 to 14 years old, they're very, very beautiful. And they have this kind of sweetness of youth. So this is the Manjaris. They have naturally graceful motions, shy smiles, crooked sidelong glances. They charm both Krishna and the entire world. And among them, there's one especially beautiful girl who's a special object of Radharani's kindness. Kshanam charana vichedach trishvarya pranaharinam padaravinda samlagna tayavahar nishamstitam. And for that gopi, she can't tolerate being away from Srimati Radharani for even a moment. Sometimes they tell one story from 𝗣𝗿𝗵𝗍𝗶 by Manohar Das, which I won't go into today, it's a long story, but how Srimati Radharani, she wanted to become a cowherd boy so that she could be with Krishna constantly, so she wouldn't be separated from him. And when she was seriously going to do that and dressing up like a cowherd boy, then her manjaris became very, very depressed. We can't live with it. No, you're also going to come with me. And they dressed them up also and brought them along. So Prabodhananda Saraswati goes on to explain that sometimes when Srimati Radharani is there, Bahuna Kim Swakantena Kridayantyapi Latta Grihe, in that cottage in the forest, and Srimati Radharani is enjoying with Krishna there. This girl has a very intimate access, an access which even the Sakhis don't have. The Radha and Krishna feel very, very comfortable with these girls. Now, jumping a little ahead, another 10, 11 verses, is describing more about the nature of these type of gopis. Radha Padabja Sevanya Spriha Kala Trayojitihim Radha Priti Sukambodhav Apare Buritam Sudha. Always, past, present, and future, the only thing that they have, the only thing they desire is to serve Srimati Radharani's lotus feet. And they're always plunged in this love for Srimati Radharani. And Krishna, the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur once said, the only reason we worship Krishna is because Srimati Radharani appreciates him. That's the mood. Who is that girl, Jaguar is saying? That girl, it doesn't say. That girl, my understanding is a manjari, or a particular manjari, or the particular manjari that Prabodhananda Saraswati is following, or that we're following. We could maybe say Rupa Manjari, perhaps. So she doesn't know anything except the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. And the beauty of this girl fills the whole world with wonder. Sesa Sesa Maha Vishma Paka Kaisha Rupinam. Because these manjaris is described elsewhere by Raghunath Das Goswami, that whatever Radharani is experiencing, these manjaris, they also experience. So whatever ecstasies, whatever transcendental love she's experiencing, they're also tasting, they're also possessing, and therefore they're the most beautiful of all the girls in the world. Prabodhananda Saraswati goes on, Sarvanga Kanti Saundarya Aparai Sarva Mohinim Radha Karma Kulataya Tatra Tatra Vichalanim. So these manjaris enchant the entire world. They're very, very eager to do their duties for Radharani, and they're very quickly going here and there. This is a general description that Prabodhananda Saraswati gives. And this is what Narottam Das Thakur is describing here in our verse in Prem Bhakti Chandrika for today. There's different translations. I look sometimes at different translations. It's an interesting thing to do. Here's another couple different translations of the same verse. Sama sneha bisham sneha na koriya duhileya. Don't become attached to those persons who have equal affection for Radha and Krishna, or to those who have more affection for Krishna than Radha. He says, I want to speak about the Adhika Sneha, the most intense gopis of Radha and Krishna. These are the Narmasakis. These are the gopis who have this Adhika Sneha. They have the most qualification for associating and serving Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna. These are the Narmasakis. These are the most intimate Sakis. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur spoke about this son. He was very shy about it, but one of his favorite books was Vilap Kusumanjali, something which Srila Srivaram Maharaj has been working on. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, here's one of his favorite verses he often quoted. Padabjayostava varadashameva nanyat kadapi samaye kila deviyache sakyayate mama namostu namostu nityam dashayate mama rasostu satyam. O most beautiful, resplendent goddess, I shall never ask you for anything other than the service of your lotus feet as a maidservant. Padabjayostavavina vadadashameva. Vadadasham, this is what I want from you. And he says that namostu namostu nityam. I'm always offering my obeisances again and again and again to the desire of becoming your Sakhi, or a gopi on an equal level. That's okay, but what I really want, Dasyayate mama rasostu satyam. I want to relish the sweet nectar of your service as a maid servant. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about this. We'll finish with this verse and tell you a story and conclude our discussion today with this verse from 𝗣𝗍𝗵 Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It says, Sakir charane kabe koribo akuti, Sakhi kripa kori dibe sarasiki stiti. When will I become intensely eager to serve the lotus feet of a Sakhi? When will my service attitude make her so obliged that she'll mercifully bestow upon me the situation in my own natural eternal mellow? So this is Guru. This is Nikunja Yuno Rati Keli Siddhyai. We serve Guru in this way. Guru is both a principle and a person. And when we approach Guru, we may not be able to see behind the veil, behind the thing, but there's a principle. And this verse here also indicates a principle of Guru Tattva, very high principle, but a principle that we should understand, that we sing about every day. Nikunja Yuno Rati Keli Siddhyai, meditating on my Gurudev, how he's very expert in arranging the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And we're praying to that, when will I get the opportunity to serve Gurudev in that way? When will that vision come to me that I can see my Gurudev in that way? And when by that service will she become so obliged that she'll give me Dibbe Swavrasiki Stiti, my eternal natural mellow. So amongst Gaudiya Vaishnavas, who is our worshipable deity? You could say different things. Some people might say Sri Sri Gaura-Nitai, but then someone may say, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never worshipped Gaura-Nitai. And amongst our six Goswamis, someone can correct me, but I'm not aware of any of our six Goswamis who worship Gaura-Nitai. You can say that there's Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in South India, he made deities of Jagannath, Balari, Subhadra with his own hands. You could say Radha Krishna, because Radha Krishna are the worshipful deities of all Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and all of our Goswamis worship Radha Krishna. But what deity did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worship and give the worship of? That was the worship of Giriraj Govardhan. And I'd like to just finish, we're speaking something about this 𝗣𝗿𝗲 Rati today. I'd like to speak something in this connection about the worship of Giriraj Govardhan and the conception of our Gaudiya Vaishnavacharyas, who throughout all of their prayers, they worship Giriraj, but they worship him as a devotee. And there's two basic conceptions of worship of Giriraj, and I'm speaking mostly now from the article that we compiled in our magazine on Govardhan. Some of you are familiar with this, so bear with me if we hear this again. We can worship Giriraj as Hari Dev. He's Krishna himself. And as Krishna, he gives Braj Bhav, Braj Bas. He'll give us residence in Vrindavan. But our Goswamis worship him as Hari Das. We worship him as Hari Dev or as Hari Das. And there's a difference between the two. Hari Das means worshiping Giriraj Govardhan as a devotee. In the Garga Samhita, there's a description about how once Krishna performed Ras Leela with the Braj Gopikas, and afterwards, being very pleased with him, he offered him a boon. That's Krishna's nature. He says, Yegatam mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. I always reciprocate with my devotees. And then at that time, the Garga Samhita says that out of the gopis, one particular gopi made a request, and that gopi was Srimati Radharani. And she requested Krishna, Yadi Rasi Prasano Si Mama Premna Jagat Pate Tadaham Pratanam Tvam Hutu Karomi Manasistitam. That if you're pleased with my love, then here's this desire that I have from you. That I would like there to be a place where we can do the Ras Leela. This is the heart of Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani wants to bring the most pleasure to Krishna. And Rupa Goswami describes in his Upadeshamrita that of all the different places, all the different bhavs, the Rasa Leela is the topmost pleasure for the Lord. So Srimati Radharani, understanding Krishna's desire and wanting to please him in the best way, she had this request, please, we want to have a place where we can do Ras Leela. And Krishna then said, Tatastu, so be it. And then the Garga Samhita describes Sadaiva Krishna Hridayat Gopi Vyuhasya Pashyataha. Pashyata means to watch. And Gopi Vyuhasya, literally it means a flank or an army of gopis. All these gopis were looking on Pashyata, Gopi Vyuhasya Pashyata, Tadaiva Krishna Hridayat. From the heart of Krishna, suddenly something came. Nirgatam Sajalam Tejo Anuragesheva Chankuram. This fiery glow came out of Krishna's heart, which was definitely the seed of deep loving attachment. Ankur means a seed. This is a seed of anurag, of deep loving attachment. It was Krishna's personified love. Krishna's personified love for Srimati Radharani came out of his heart, fell down on the ground of the Ras Leela, and it started growing in the Giriraj Govardhan. Now, Krishna's love for the gopis and especially Radharani is unlimited. And the Garga Samhita says that Giriraj started growing. He was over 8 billion miles long. He was huge, 4 billion miles tall. And then Krishna came and slapped him. Said, hey, what are you doing? You're scaring everybody. This is not good. Stop it right now. And then Giriraj stopped growing. So Giriraj is growing because Giriraj is Krishna's personified love for Srimati Radharani. At the same time, Giriraj Govardhan, he's Krishna himself, he's Vishnu Tattva, but he's like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like Nityananda Prabhu Advaita, like Balaram, Lakshman, and Antasesh. All of those personalities are Bhagavan, they're all Vishnu Tattva, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, Advaita, Balaram, etc., they all came in the mood of devotees. And Krishna himself, although he's a Supreme Personality of Godhead, he wants to taste the superior pleasure that's experienced by the devotees. And Kaviraj Goswami describes this in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the desire of Krishna. Let's go ahead and put this on the board. Bhakta prema rajata dasa jay gati prakar jata dukkha jata sukha jati ka vikar. Krishna taha samyak na parijani te bhakta bhava angikari taha aswadite. Krishna himself can't understand the different moods of his devotees, the prakar, the transformations that the devotees have, their moods of ecstatic love, jata dukkha, jata sukha, the unhappiness, the ecstasy that they have. And to taste that then, Krishna comes in the mood of a devotee, bhakta bhavi angikarita asudite, so that he can taste those emotions fully. So he comes as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Radha Bhava Dyuti Sivalitam Nomi Krishna Sarupam. He's Krishna Sarup, but 𝗣𝗿𝗵𝗺𝗬𝗐 the mood and the complexion of Srimati Radharani are covering him. And he's come to taste and to give, because this is the nature of the gopis, that thing, anarpita chirim chirat karuna avatirna kula, the thing which had not been given in a long, long time before. That swabhakti shriya, the essence of that Sri Bhakti, essence of devotion to him, which is the essence of Srimati Radharani and the service to Srimati Radharani. So worship of Giriraj Govardhan as a devotee is this worship of in the mood of Manjari Bhav. And therefore Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur in his Govardhanashtakam, in the last verse, he explains why it is that the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worship Giriraj Govardhan as a devotee. And he says it's a very important thing to do. 𝗣𝗿𝗵𝗺𝗶𝗶 padashrayam bhaktirata shrayami yameva suprema nijasayo Sri Govardhano me dishatam abhishtam. He says that unless, vina means without, 𝗣𝗵𝗺𝗵 unless you worship Giriraj, it's Haridasavaryo, the best of Krishna's devotees, then you can't get the swaprema, the bhakti, that love that he himself possesses. So Giriraj Govardhan, according to Garga Samhita, is the personified love for Srimati Radharani, Krishna's personified love for Radha. Radharani is praying for a rasastali, a place for them to come together and do serve, and so they can serve Krishna. And Krishna responds by pouring out his heart, literally. And the feelings of his heart, his personified love comes out, and that becomes Giriraj Govardhan. And the Goswamis, therefore, they worship Giriraj in this way. And they say, without worshiping him like this, you can't get the love that he himself has. And the love that Giriraj represents is Krishna's love for Srimati Radharani, where he wants to take the position of a servant of Srimati Radharani. And this is the same thing as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself come in the mood of a devotee because he wants to taste the ecstasy of service to Srimati Radharani. So this is some of the things that Narottam Das Thakur is speaking about in this verse today. This is a very high topic, as I've been saying, but we should understand such a thing exists. Samasneha Vishlam Sneha Nakarya Dui Leka. That some of the gopis, they're more affectionate to Krishna, some are more affectionate to Srimati Radharani. We want to go in the mood of those gopis who are serving Srimati Radharani. And therefore we sing as Nikunja Yuno Rati Keli Sijay. Therefore we sing Radha Krishna Pranamor Yugala Kishore, that we want to bring together Radha and Krishna. This is the mood of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So Narottam saying some of the Sakhis are more affectionate toward Krishna, some are more affectionate toward Sri Radhika. All of them remain constantly with Radha and Krishna, engaged in singing their pastimes. These Sakhis are called the most confidential Sakhis. So here's Prabhupada's point again, that our policy should be that people don't misunderstand the gopis to be ordinary girls. We should be careful how we present the gopis, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't utter their names. And we haven't taken a vow to boycott the gopis. They are our worshipful devotees. How can we avoid them? We should know something about it. We should read Nectar Devotion. We should read teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and all the books of our Goswamis, where all of them speak about this subject matter, either anvaya vyatirekabhyam, either directly or indirectly. At the same time, for ourselves, we take shelter of Bhagavad Gita, and we understand that until I completely surrender, there's no question of me having adhikar for acting on these things, but still, I have this desire. We were speaking with Krishna Kun earlier today, and about how our nature is we've been living a lie for so long. We've been living an untruth, an illusion for so long that we don't want to change that. And when someone comes before us and says, here's reality, no, 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 I don't want reality. We're afraid of that. And so we want to cling to the lie. We want to cling to Maya. And because of that, we don't want to surrender. Surrender actually is for persons who are very brave. Sometimes people in the West, they think that surrender is something for weak people, that you surrender and you're not really a strong person. And that may be material dealings, but that's not true in the path of bhakti. Arjun was not weak. In the beginning, it appeared that he was weak. In the beginning, he was weak until he surrendered. And when he surrendered to Krishna, then he became fully empowered. So it's an ironic thing that if we contemplate it, all of our suffering comes from our body and from identification from our body, but still we love our body and we're surrendered to our body and all the orders and desires of our body. No matter how much pain they give us, we're surrendered to those things. And that surrender that we have to our body, it's a natural surrender. It's not based, it's not like 𝗣𝗿𝗲𝗺𝗵, the surrender we have to our body. It's a natural thing. It's a type of rag bhakti. It's raganuga. We're attached to this body. We'll give up all rules and regulations just to serve this body. But our acharyas have repeatedly told us that it's not possible for us to love our body and to simultaneously love Krishna. So we have to learn to give time to Krishna. We're giving so much time. We give a little bit, a tiny bit of time to Krishna. But until we start to give all of our time to Krishna, give our mind to Krishna, then how are we going to make advance in this? And how are we going to become free from our anarthas? When we come to that point, when we're completely fixed on Krishna, then at that time, we become sarnagata, we become completely surrendered, our anarthas will go away, and then we can attain uttama bhakti. And then we can begin to have some realizations about these things. But in the beginning, we should at least understand that these things exist. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. Does anybody have any questions or comments they'd like to share? It's not really the kind of discussion, kind of subject we have a lot of discussions about. Siddha Hari Prabhu, you have something?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. First, Prabhu, I want to let you know that I followed your instruction. I tried to feed Jaigor some nice prasada,
Uh-huh.
as you had suggested. We got him
Oh,
some pizza last Sunday. So I had a point, towards the end, you mentioned about the position of Giriraj Govardhan and also of Lord Chaitanya. You were mentioning how we don't know if the six Goswamis worship Lord Chaitanya.
as a
Like
deity.
they have any as a deity. um, I guess I can't recall very quickly of any of the acharya, among the six Goswamis, but definitely down the line, many of our
Jiva
other
Goswami.
acharyas,
I've seen the deities. Jiva Goswami has a deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda in Kelly. Krishna. We visited there some years ago with Prabhupada Priya Sevik Prabhu. Let's
yes.
see.
So, like you mentioned that in the article, so there are two moods of worshiping Giriraj Govardhan. One is to say, take him as, amongst, it's like a spectrum of moods, but one mood is worshiping him as Krishna, another mood is worshiping him as servant of Krishna. And, I kind of like both the moods. And it's difficult for me to give up one mood or just go for the other one, because I do like him to treat him as Krishna. At the same time, Radharani has given him the title, they're giving him Haridasa Sriniti Varidhanama. Sri Radhika has herself given the title to him that he is the best of the Haridasas. So that also can't be taken away. So is it okay to have that mood of where one is worshipping them, worshipping Giriraj and Lord Chaitanya in the mood where they are simultaneously Krishna and also best servants of Krishna?
See, amongst the followers of religion, they have so many rules. And the neophyte followers of religion, they want everybody to worship the same way that I do. And they say we have our
Mm.
policies, and you have to follow this policy. Bishmullah. There's no other God other than Allah. And if you see there's anybody else, then we'll kill you. And there's the Crusades, and the Christians killed the Muslims, and the Muslims killed the Christians. And then there's been wars in India between the Hindus and the Muslims for so long. But the Gaudiya Vaishnavas have a different mood. In Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavat, he says, Jai Rupa Chimche Dasi Se Rupa Hoy. According to the mood of a devotee, the Lord manifests a corresponding form. And you can't say that one is right and the other is wrong. Just like Murari Gupta was very, very attached to worshiping Lord Ramachandra. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tried to change his mind, but he cried and cried. No, I'm very, very, Mahaprabhu was so pleased with him for that. So when we have a sthayi bhava and we have a fixed mood toward the Lord, that's my particular mood, that's my particular relationship. And one person will worship in one way, another person will worship in a different way. It's a difficult thing for us as an institution. We want to preach and we want to make sure there's certain standards. But bhakti by itself is supremely, ultimately personal and variegated, unlimitedly variegated. So that's a little bit of a contradictory thing. For new people, when they're coming, we have a certain standard, and Prabhupada wanted certain standards for deity worship and certain policies and things. And that's very important that we have that for our movement. We don't want there to be sahajis, and we don't want people to take up just distracted by going down different paths. And Raghunath Das Goswami speaks about this in his Manasiksha. And he says that don't even worship Lord Narayan. Just worship Radha and Krishna, what to speak of anything else, just fix your mind. But at the same time, ultimately, we see there's Murari Gupta, there's different devotees, there's different moods. So in the same way with Giriraj Govardhan, it depends on the person. I know I had the opportunity to meet a few of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's disciples, and one of them I met, I want to try his servant. I was surprised to see that he was worshiping two Govardhan Shilas. Your question reminded me of this. And one of them he was worshiping with a flute and a peacock feather as Krishna, and the other one he was worshiping as a devotee of Krishna. And he kept them side by side. He was worshiping both like that. I appreciated that. Personally, I appreciate that more than seeing Govardhan Shila's worship like Radharani or Balaram. That's a little perhaps questionable. That's another topic though too. Even that there can be some accommodation for it, but not so much tradition amongst our acharyas. But why not? Why not have either way? But the main principle is that we should follow Guru. Is that helpful, Prabhuji?
That's very helpful. Thank you. Especially that you're sharing the anecdote that how that devotee was worshiping, simultaneously in two
I
Giriraj.
think that if you give some pizza every day to Jai Gore, you'll have more and more realization in spiritual life. It'll just be good for you.
Sure, bro, I'll follow that instruction too. Bro, I had another follow-up question. Not follow-up, but another question based on what you shared today. Can I ask? So I'm not very sure if you have time.
No, go ahead, please.
So I was wondering, this topic of how Prabhupada mentioned that one should be very careful in presenting the topic of gopis. And you also mentioned that how, we should know this subject matter, otherwise we may end up in Vaikuntha because we have never studied this topic thoroughly enough, built the desire in that direction. Now, we also hear this need to hear these topics from those devotees who are at a high platform. Just like, although His Holiness Sri Srimad Guru Granth Sahib Maharaj was saying that he is not qualified to speak on the subject matter, but he's definitely, very highly qualified to speak on the subject matter. So, does that mean that we should be praying that Krishna will send such devotees in our life that we can hear in person or about these subject matters, or should we say that because now we have access to this Goswami literatures, Krishna has already answered our prayer? What we need to do is to pray hard that we can really connect with the books only to hear the subject matter. What's the next step in this direction?
What do you think, Siddhari Prabhu? How would you answer that?
Oh, I think I was there when good fortune arises. Krishna will send some wonderful devotee in our life. Until that time, satisfy us with on the
Books are
few
nice.
drops of few.
Books are nice,
Until
but
that
they don't replace devotees. And the
time.
books are very, very wonderful, but I want association with devotees. And that's a natural thing. I can read about a beautiful girl. I can associate with her. But the real thing is I want to meet someone. And I'm not going to be sad. And I know there are some people who say, well, I don't need to meet a girl. I'm just going to get married to the books. We call this Ridviks. That's okay. I'm not into that kind of marriage personally. But if somebody's into that, that's okay also. We love everybody. We appreciate all Vaishnavas, whoever wants to approach Krishna. But in our line, we're supremely personal. Is that helpful? I mean, it's such a big thing we could talk about. You discussed it before.
Sure, Babu. Sure, Babu. Thank you, Babu.
I don't
Appreciate
know
it.
about Jai Gore, but I'm a little worried about you. You look a little too thin, Prabhuji.
Oh no, Babu. At Radha Govinda Mandir in Brooklyn, they got Raj Bhog in morning, practically, like 15 course morning and afternoon. So there's a
Yeah.
dearth of prasadam here. I tell you, Babu. You should come here sometime if you're not having hard time visa for India, you make easily visa for New York.
I may
Have
try
you thought
that.
about it?
I've thought
About coming
about
to
it,
USA?
actually. Yeah, I've thought about it. We'll see. They're booking me up right now for classes here and things.
Oh, I think you're too attached you're too attached to Europe. I think we have to talk to Mother Krishna Kund. Something has to be done. It has been such a long time in Europe. I'm not
Well,
sure what Leela Prasad was feeding you. You keep
the
going back there
difficulty
again and
right
again.
now is Krishna Kun's mother. She's has some very, very serious health issues, and Krishna Kun needs to be there to be with her. So we're hanging out there. And sometimes we sneak off and take some prasadam from Lila Purushottam Prabhu. And that. And we invited you guys to
I knew
come. You
that.
didn't show up. Don't blame me.
We will feed you all. Come.
Okay. Anybody else is there?
We can get some salads for Siddhahari also.
There's lots of grass around his house. They can feed you. Don't worry.
You mean ice pack grass or what? What are you gonna feed me? Frozen grass? Thank you.
Not all frozen. Actually, they have a lot of different nice
Wait
vegetables.
for Prabhu's order to feed you with barfis and
Okay. Anybody else with anything? Hare Krishna Tirthakar Prabhu. Nice to see you. We were just with Devaki Nandan Prabhu. I sent you that picture, and he was just appreciating how he's been attending your classes and things and like that. There's some talk right now. I'll just put it out in the ether that we had a talk with 𝗣𝗿𝗺𝗺 Maharaj today, the temple president here in Budapest. And he wants me to give a series of talks, like a seminar on guru-disciple relationships. And I said, oh, I know some devotees who are not so far away. They may want to come. Would that be possible? And so, I told him maybe some of the devotees in Czech or Slovakia, et cetera, may want to come for that. And he liked the idea very much. He said, maybe we could all go and do some Harinam, whatever, too. Brajaraj Gopal Prabhu, do you want to share something?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the wonderful katha. For me, I guess I feel unqualified because these subjects, even if I try to understand more about the different qualities, I just feel like I'm gravitating towards like information, how much information I can get about these various. So it's I guess one thing that is coming to mind is how, like, the only thing I can do with what you've shared today is like pray. So, like, pray one day to understand this. But like practically speaking, from my neophyte consciousness, is it just that I keep trying to understand the various positions of these Sakhis and gopis, and that is sufficient?
I'm not an authority on this subject. And we're just sharing something. We're just sharing some reading today and some things I've heard from my Guru Maharaj and a few personal kind of observations. My Guru Maharaj, when he spoke some of these things, he told us, he said that you should just hear this. Just hear it and just try it. And just, even if you don't understand, it's something good for you. And there's an example we give sometimes. 𝗣𝗿𝗶𝗶𝗺𝗵 likes this one. He was mentioning to me the other day that once, there's a true story, there was a disciple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who became very, very sick. He became so sick he couldn't eat anything. And whatever he would eat, he would either vomit out or it would come out the other end of his body, including finally water. He couldn't keep water in his body. Now, if you can't keep water in your body, it means you're going to die very soon. They took him to an Ayurvedic doctor. It's a true story. And they took him to the doctor, and the doctor told him, give him ghee. And they said, doctor, maybe you weren't listening. He can't drink water. And when you want us to give him ghee, it's much more difficult to digest some water. And he said, no, give him ghee. Yes, okay. So he gave him ghee, and immediately it came out. But some of the ghee stayed in his stomach, and it lined his stomach. And then from there, he was able to start digesting. So in the same way, when we hear topics like this, we can't digest it. And it just all comes out. It's very hard for us to make a mess. But sometimes a little bit of a lining comes in our stomach. And then we can begin to start some. And this is our activity. Our activity is to serve the literatures of the six Goswamis. And as Prabhupada, I can't remember this song, how it goes. One song of Narottam Das Thakur, Prabhupada translated that, when will the day come when I have a desire to read the books of the six Goswamis? We should desire to read these books, to hear these books, but we put it in a certain category. And it's yeah, 𝗣𝗿𝗶𝗶𝗺𝗵. Thank you. It's not that we're doing this as our sadhana, meaning that I'm sitting down and I'm meditating on what Radha and Krishna are doing at Nidhivan or Radhakund right now, or this place or that place. But I'm reading these things just so that I know where I'm going and what's there and what I should expect and what I should hanker for. And that's all we're going over it now. We're not going to read this every week and speak about the gopis every week and the manjaris every week and all this, but we should have some philosophical understanding of it. And it's a little maybe uncomfortable for us because it's not a topic that we hear very often, because it's not something you speak at the Sunday feast. It's not something you go on the street and tell, hey man, take this book, and you'd like to be a little girl in the spiritual world. we don't speak about that with people on the street. It's beyond them. But we should know that such a thing exists. That's all. And it'll line our stomachs to some extent. Is that helpful?
Yes, Prabhu. I guess I think the nuance I was trying to ask was the mood of hearing these topics, because they feel like jewelry that I cannot wear.
Yeah, the thing is with jewelry too, sometimes we don't even know what it's worth. Is it plastic costume jewelry? Or is it fabulously expensive jewelry? We don't know. So we're just taught how to deal with jewelry. And then little by little, as we get some expertise, we can understand what's real, what's false, and like that. And my Guru Maharaj said that our hearing, we should do a service. We read these books as a service. It's pleasing to Rupa Goswami. Prabhupada once said that Narad Muni came to see what was going on in Conway Hall in London, to see the devotees chanting Hare Krishna, it's so astonishing, all these Yavana Malechas were coming together and chanting Hare Krishna. He just wanted to come. And Narad Muni must have been really pleased. Rupa Goswami must be really pleased to see all these crazy, wacko people who don't have adhikar for it, but they're trying to understand it. If we put it in the right perspective and don't try to be something that we're not, we should understand and act according to Bhagavad Gita. That's our general practice. We just got into Prem Bhakti Chandrika and we've been going through it, and now we're coming to these higher topics, but we should at least just understand something about them in a general way. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Is that okay, Siddha Hari Prabhu? Yeah? Hare Krishna. Gauranitai Prabhu, do you want to share something?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very much. It's very, 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 very nice just to hear. Yes. I was thinking if I speak something, but I know that you like, and other devotees likes to hear something from others. So I was thinking that Prabhupada very early started a magazine. And the title of the magazine is Back Home, Back to Godhead. So I was thinking today, just appeared in my mind that why Prabhupada put that back home. We could say that, yeah, that's a nice saying, that familiar, everyone likes to go home. But I think it's more deep. That you say that we should go, we should know where to go. But I feel where to go back. I mean, for Prabhupada, it's definitely to go back. And if you want to be with Prabhupada, that we need to feel that emotion that I go home. And as earlier you spoke about the community, what's creating really good communities. And we want to go to a community which is eternally keeps together. That means we have to know that community, and we have to know the head, Godhead, have to know Krishna, but also have to know who is close to that. And without this topic, without these explanations, I don't feel I want to go. I just say, yes, it's interesting. Yeah, Krishna has nice pastimes. It's okay. But also so many other pastimes. Hanuman have nice pastimes. But ultimately I have to decide. I have to decide what is the place where I want to feel home. Definitely not here, because here is everything is temporary. And in the spiritual world, everything is eternal, but which place is my home? And I have to decide, and that's which place is my community, which place is my family. And I feel that what you say, that you are familiar with that topic. And I want to feel that familiarity. I want to feel that, be with you, with one family, be with other devotees who feel the same way. So back home for me is speaking about my home. And maybe sometimes it's weird, really strange for a young boy. Okay, you become a girl. It's because of the concept is not ready. But when you already meditated so many times, but what you want, you already have to leave this body. So what else you want? So then you start to consider, yeah, maybe just close to Radharani. And if Lord Shiva couldn't come closer than just, you have to have a female body. So I have to accept. And slowly, as you say, step by step, maybe I accept that, okay, eternal living in a forest, in a female body, maybe. What is the wrong in that? So that's why I wanted to say. And thank you very much to hear in this good mood, in this familiar mood. Thank you very much.
Everybody wants community, but we don't know how to behave in community. And I've been seeing here in Hungary, now we're staying a few blocks away from the temple, and Someone gave Krishna Kund some prasadam today. Someone came by and they brought us a couple of chairs. Someone else offered us a heater. And I'm watching how there's a lot of community here. But sometimes I meet a lot of intellectual people, or people don't fit in sometimes with the community. And a community is something new that we're trying to establish, and sometimes we don't all fit into it. But there is beautiful community, and community comes about when we hear and chant together, and we have a similar goal, a similar understanding. And it comes about when we serve Guru. Like I posted this statement from my Guru Maharaj from this lecture earlier today in our Pariprashna group, which I'll just kind of flip over a little bit. He's saying that we should be very, very greedy. If we don't have this greed for sadhu sangha, greed for Hari Katha, for Krishna Katha, then we're not really making advancement, and we're not really associating with Gurudev. We're doing asat sangha. And he said, even you may be sitting here. He spoke to us, he gave this lecture in 1994, 95. I was sitting right in front of him. He said, you may be sitting right here, but you're not here. You're not really getting benefit, and you're not really associating with Guru, because you're thinking of different things. You're not trying to understand what is it that Gurudev desires. So we want to, as you're pointing, we want to develop this community, and that community is based on Guru. But it's not just something we come and sit in front of him and we dress in a certain way and we learn some songs and some words for this or that and certain type of behavior, but it's a question of the heart. It's a very, very deep thing, and that's really community, when we know each other in a very, very deep way, and that begins by following someone who is a qualified person. So that's my reflection, your reflection, and that's why you're in Mayapur. I know. You're very fortunate. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Let's see here. Ursula, do you want to share something? You have your hand up. Let's see.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I would like, sorry?
Thank you for coming today. Hare Krishna. Nice to have you.
I would like to, maybe it's a basic question and related to Gornitai Prabhu's reflection, that our home, our communities depended on our will, or it is something which is revealed. So how much it is really upon us, and how much we should respect as Krishna's will, or yes, something like that. And I would have another question, but it is not so closely related, just indirectly. So maybe if we have no time, I cannot.
Let's focus on this one first. So
okay.
These two things, we have our personal desire, and there's also Krishna's arrangement. Now, in the beginning, we don't really know what my desire is. Just like a small child, you ask him, what do you want to be? I want to be a fireman. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be this and that. And everybody asks a small child what they want to be, but they may not understand until they're in high school. Some people don't understand until they're in college. Some people don't understand until they're out of college, until the last part of their life even. To understand even materially who I am, what I'm trying to do is a very difficult thing. And what to speak of understanding myself spiritually. So in our course, we follow Krishna, we worship, and Krishna will reveal in our heart those things. And it'll be a combination of both things. It's not that Krishna is going to force something on us, it's also our desire. But we have to, first of all, purify our heart to really understand what to desire. Because otherwise, we're just like small kids, and what can we know? Is that helpful? Okay. You had something else?
Yes, it's so I've just read about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu last night with Vishnu Priya, And I've realized how much sensitivity was there. Even he was trying to left, and next day he departed, but he was so much gentle and beloved towards Vishnupriya. And my question is that this is the attitude or the mood of Radharani regarding their husbands and children, that they love them, but they much more loved Krishna and want to be with Krishna, or they do not love them so much. So it's something in duality.
Yeah, first of all, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left home because he was in the mood of Radharani. And in the mood of Radharani leaves everything. She runs in the middle of the night and goes to Krishna. So that's the nature of ekantic love, or one-pointed love. It's the nature of true love, that if you really love someone, you love them more than anybody else, more than anything else. It's not that a guy will tell you, well, I love you, and I've got 4 other girlfriends, but you're probably my favorite. You're not going to appreciate it. Love should be something which is one-pointed. At the same time, in our tradition, in 𝗣𝗿𝗶𝗺𝗵, Sanatana Goswami tells how Yudhishthira Maharaj loved his wife and loved his brothers so much because they were worshiping Krishna, because they were devotees of Krishna. And that's another kind of love, because Krishna's real love. The other things are ideas of love are based on our bodily conception, based on our own interpretation of ourself, the identity that we give ourselves. And it's not really deep, it's not real love. But when Krishna is there, when we realize that, that's real love. And then we can experience that love for other people who are serving together, hearing and chanting together. And that's why this hearing and chanting is stressed so much. And that's why I always push this hearing and chanting for community. And different communities will have different tastes in reading things. Some of them will read Prem Bhakti Chandrika, some of them will just say we should only read Bhagavad Gita. I visited one community where one of the young devotees came to me and said, Prabhu, is it okay if I read Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita? I said, well, of course it's okay. He said, well, my counselor says I shouldn't. I said, what? He says, my counselor says I should only read Easy Journey to Other Planets and Perfection of Yoga and Prabhupada's small books. And after I read all the small books, then I can read Bhagavad Gita. Okay, look, I said, my feeling is you read whatever you're inspired by, and you take guidance from Srila Prabhupada. But if you have a certain community, they may have a community who doesn't read Bhagavad Gita because it's too advanced. But they just read Easy Journey to Other Planets and Perfection of Yoga and On the Way to Krishna and like that. That's okay. That's fine. But somehow we should come together and we should hear and chant with like-minded devotees. Otherwise, we're not going to be satisfied. We need some community. We need friends. We need people around us. But it's very difficult because in Debrecen, you don't have a whole lot of choices. There's not a whole lot of people in school who are Vaishnava devotees and you can sit and speak with and things. We're fortunate we have something online that we can do a little bit, but even that is not sufficient because we'd like to take prasadam together. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for taking part today. Anybody else want to share anything? Tirthakar Prabhu, do you want to, you have any reflections?
Yes, I really like that point, which you are stressing it a lot, and somehow it took me several years to associate with you to sink in that we should actually, there is no harm to study those topics if we do it in the right association with the right attitude. And I told you last time that I also implemented that we will study now whole nectar of devotion for Bhakti Shastri. It will not be just the 19th chapter. So I really like that point with your Guru Maharaj. You were saying in the beginning that he said that you are not qualified to listen and I'm not maybe qualified to speak, but still we have to try to understand these things, and we should know that they are existing, these topics. So that was really nice. Thank you very much.
You know, it also reminds me of Satyaraj Prabhu, who is a really outstanding preacher. He's gotten into so many doors, and he's working with so many different professors, and people are asking him to write articles and things. And I've noted that sometimes when he meets with professors or Christian missionaries or Christian pastors, whatever, he sometimes speaks to them about the gopis and Manjari Bhav and Raganuga Bhakti and this and that. And people have a fascination for it. But he speaks about it in a certain context. He doesn't say, you know, we should pretend that we're gopis or something like that. But he just, you know, this is our history, this is our philosophy. And there's a lot of, and I was really astounded to see how attracted people are to that. And it made me realize it's not wrong to speak about that, even with new people, but it depends on how you do it and what is the context. That's my thought. I was curious to see what you thought, because you're always sharing things with people, always.
No, I really like, because I was listening your appreciation of Gopi Gita, all those sessions. I mean, I didn't listen the last one maybe, but I listened majority of it. And I remember the first one was mainly about should we discuss these topics or not, right? You first established in the first one about it. And there was actually from you and Amarendra Prabhu and Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, there are so many arguments based on Shastra that actually, although we may be not qualified, but we still hanker, and we should hanker after these topics. And you said today very nice, it was amazing with this ghee in the stomach. You know, that slowly, right, we have to get to it.
If we're Gaudiya Vaishnavas and we don't know who the gopis are, how are we Gaudiya Vaishnavas? What are we doing? And when is it going to begin? I'm 63 now. Is it going to begin when I'm 70, when I'm 80, when I'm 90? You know, just a few seconds before I leave my body. When is it going to start? Now, there's a difference between that and the platform of Bhav and Ruchi and all this. That's another thing. And I should understand what are those different steps. But just to hear about the subject matter, know that it exists, that's all we're saying. It's important. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to share anything? I'll read something out from Jai Gore here. Very sweet to hear these topics from you, Prabhu. We have to admit, I feel sad seeing how it seems necessary to constantly defend yourself in these topics with the Astra Srila Prabhupada's quotes. Yeah, it's a fact. It makes me think that the actual goal of life is suppressed in our movement, not at the forefront. Yam yat vapi smaram bhavam sofi. Cultivate the bhav of an ISKCON devotee and not a Brajbasi. What is the destination? Yeah, we should not just know about ISKCON. We want to know about Krishna. And there's a difference. And knowing about ISKCON may be knowing about the GBC and about the morning program and about this thing, and that we want to know about Krishna. But at the same time, I don't think Jaguar is here anymore. I think he went on Harinam. At the same time, our movement, our mission is meant to bring new people in. And I wouldn't give classes like this at the temple for new people. I wouldn't go on the street and speak like this for new people. And even with you guys, I don't think it's such a big deal. We're just giving some information that these things exist and discussing amongst ourselves. But it's difficult in our ISKCON society because we have a big mission. It's like an army. And in the army, people, they have very intense moods and it's very regimented and things. And it's out of necessity. There's different rules and like that. So Gorni Typer was commenting, I'm afraid that Srila Prabhupada seriously cheated us. He said, just chant Hare Krishna and be happy. But he chanted Hare Krishna with the Lord Chaitanya and the 6 Goswamis. And he gave the Gayatri Mantra, which brings us, if seriously chanted, to Braj. And he gave us Tulsi prayers as daily meditation. So without knowing where we joined, the destination is already appointed, isn't it? If we pay attention, if we don't sleep through Tulsi Puja, if we actually sit down and read Nectar Devotion, what a concept. We actually read Krishna book. We actually read Srila Prabhupada's books. We listen to Prabhupada's lectures. Prabhupada's a Gaudiya Vaishnava. And from the very beginning, Prabhupada was much more radical than a lot of his godbrothers. I can tell you for sure. I don't want to mention names, but in the early days, in the 1960s, when he came to 26 Second Avenue, some of the first lectures he was speaking about Vrindavan and the gopis and Radha Krishna, because this was his mood. And he wanted to give this, and he gave us the Tulsi prayers. But we put it in context, and we just follow Srila Prabhupada very strictly. And it's not that we imitate something or we think, now I'm so elevated for this or that. Okay. Leela Purushottam, do you want to add anything? You're quiet today.
Want to express my gratitude that by the undeserved mercy of my Guru Janas, I got the opportunity to know that such a things exist. And actually, one thing I have in mind, but you already mentioned it in your answer, I don't know to whom, that what I really see the great benefit of, and it's connected also with the Siddhari Prabhu's question, whether we want to hear it from a person, that I perceive over the years the strong connection between the opportunity to hear these topics from qualified Vaishnavas and its direct effect on forming our desires and aspirations in our spiritual life, forming the like prayojan understanding, like what's really the goal, and not on the philosophical level, but on the level of attraction. That if that Vaishnava transmits at least whatever drop of his attraction for Krishna into our heart, then that's the greatest benefit and success of that hearing. And we don't have to at that point, we are, for me at least, I have that experience for myself, that immediately as whatever drop, whatever tiny speck of that feeling I can feel in my heart, I just don't care whether it's legal, illegal, approved, not approved. I'm just glad that I could have that opportunity to sit at the feet of that Vaishnava and listen to the katha and receive that priceless gem of whatever little attraction to our goal. So
I'm just trying to find something here in our Bindu magazine. I thought it was Rasikananda. We read about Rasikananda Prabhu and some of the early Vaishnavas, and how they would come together every day, and they would chant japa, they would do kirtan, and they would read from Ujjwal Nilamani and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and this thing and that thing. And they were very humble Vaishnavas. They were very exalted actually. But at the same time, nobody was feeling like they're so qualified, but they would just come together and just hear those things. And I'd like to be able to do that. I'd just like to say this is legal just to come and hear about it. And we should understand our adhikar. And if we don't hear these things, then how will we understand our adhikar? When you go to school on the first day and you think, yeah, man, I'm really advanced in mathematics. I can do long division. I'm really great. And then you go and the teacher starts talking about trigonometry and geometry, and you can't even hardly follow what he's saying. Then all of a sudden you realize, I'm just a jerk. I don't know anything. Oh my God. So if we don't hear something about some of the higher things you're saying, then where will that desire come from? And we want to hear from the Vaishnavas who have that. But I think also we want to just come together and just hear it, but with mature devotees who understand their position. I've seen some devotees online, and I'm not going to say names, and I'm not qualified to judge them, but I've seen some groups who want to talk about some of these things, and sometimes somebody starts crying, and they speak about how, we're giving Krishna prema and we have this, and that makes me extremely uncomfortable, because I know some of the people in some of those groups, and they may have Krishna prema, but they also have prema for young ladies and other things, and it makes me doubt would they really have Krishna prema at all. It seems very, very inappropriate. But at the same time, it doesn't, just because somebody misuses something doesn't mean that it can't be done properly. And
Yeah.
that's a very important thing. We should know how to do it properly.
Yeah, like your expression, how you put it, that it requires some like mature sangha, mature environment. Because that's another part of my experience I told you. That there's obviously the trap that to hear about these things, you can mistake with owning it, with the feeling that I've heard about it, that it's mine. But there's a huge gap between hearing about it and really own it. So that's obviously a trap, which creates havoc, which creates disturbance in the society. Definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's indicative, that those kind of moods are indicative of someone who's not very mature.
Yeah.
Just like a child wants to play, when I was a small child, we used to dress up as a policeman and as a spaceman and this thing and that thing. We're pretending something. And so in a similar way, it's a mood of a young, immature devotee. We want to imitate something that we're not. And therefore, it's really helpful when we're in serious association. We want to be in association with the Premi Bhakta, and we should hanker for that. Bhaktivinoda says in one place that just having a desire for Krishna prema is a very, very rare thing. Just having a desire to have serious association, but tempered, because I've seen devotees just run to the first person who talks about chanting 64 rounds, or talks about 𝗣𝗿𝗲𝗺𝗵𝗸𝗁, starts crying and looking sentimental. And I've seen some really strange things over the years. And there's a lot of it out there. There's a whole lot of it out there. It should be tempered with the steel of Bhagavad Gita and our basic principles, and understanding what is really faith mean, and how faith should be based upon Shastra. We should understand Siddhanta. If someone doesn't understand Siddhanta and they're talking about all these things, I have really no time for it.
Yeah. Actually, that trap, even if we fall prey, I think Krishna has enough tools to cure us. But still the benefit remains. If there is any attraction instilled within our heart, then the benefit is immeasurable.
We should just do the basic principles that Prabhupada gave us, 4 regular principles, 16 rounds, and follow those things strictly. That's our sadhana. And we should read all the books that he gave us, including Nectar Devotion, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and Krishna book.
And in that context, still, if we just look into the descriptions of our acharyas, how the different traps look like and how they are supposed to be overcome, then we can almost rest assured, and we experience it, that we are experiencing these traps, like Madhurya Kadambini's description of Anishtita Bhajana Kriya, that we can see if we are at least a little introspective, we see that these faults or insufficiencies in our heart And yeah, it's kind of a what one could think about it as a natural development of our path. But still, we should not make that mistake to believe anyone who tells us that to hear about Prayojan Tattva is illegal.
Yeah, I've seen some of the Babajis in Vrindavan who are some of the leading Babajis. One comes to my mind. He just speaks about Bhagavad Gita quite a lot and very simple Siddhantic kind of things. It's not, that's such an important principle for us. And Prabhupada stressed that we need that's our main foundation. We should always be reading Bhagavad Gita. But we should also know what is in Prem Bhakti Chandrika, what is in Krishna. Know something about it. Okay. Miss your association, Leela, we're thinking about Sweden. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but we're thinking about it. We're also thinking too about some program here somehow. I don't know. See.
Well, it sounds attractive actually. It sounds good. We could.
I told them that they have to feed you guys this time now.
Hare Krishna.
And also that we should organize some kind of harinam or something so everybody can go out and it'll be
great. That would be great. But seeing you in the jumper and the hat also, if the heating is working properly in the flat now.
It's a big flat. And I don't want to turn the heat up very much. But I can't see my breath, so it's not too bad.
Krishna, Krishna.
Krishna. Okay. Anybody else with anything they want to share? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and stop. Krishna Kun, do you want to share anything? You there? I can't hear you on the microphone, but I can hear you in the next room.
Hare Krishna. Yes, I'm here.
Krishna
I was thinking about Hare Krishna. That's the reason I couldn't put on the sound. I was thinking about Orshi's comment and how there are only a few books written about this inherent and inherited topic that would kind of sum up her question. So I was just finding it interesting how she put her finger on something which is like, just volumes, and different volumes are written on it, and different acharyas have different opinions.
These are spiritual topics, and all of them are just unlimited. Krishna's unlimited, but it doesn't mean we can't talk, right? Yes. We have to talk about something. I heard expressed in one literature that if one day you just saw a fingernail of Srimati Radharani, you become so overwhelmed and attracted by that one fingernail. You might just spend the rest of your life contemplating that one fingernail. It's so astonishing. So the philosophy and literature is the same way.
And one more comment, just a small comment, that we spoke a little bit about how Bhagavad Gita is the basis of everything that Srila Prabhupada gave to us and everything that we do. And sometimes, therefore, we take Bhagavad Gita as something schoolboyish. I don't know if there is such a, can you say it like that?
Yeah, or as something elementary.
Elementary, yeah. Like practically something like so basic that we look down upon it or something. And I just want to repeat something from my Gurudev. Read Gita daily. Prabhupada stressed on Gita so much. This is Gaur Govinda Maharaj. And I heard some of Madhu Narayani's and Madhu Shrimati's realizations about Bhagavad Gita, certain verses and certain purports, part of purports of Srila Prabhupada. And they see amazing things that I never thought about. Just as Jiva Goswami sees amazing things in the first verse of the Bhagavatam, which is about, basically, at the first look, about creation, but Jiva Goswami says sees gopis and Radha and Krishna and pastimes. And so similarly, certain verses of Bhagavad Gita, there is so much there that we don't see. And therefore we take it as elementary. And I just wanted to mention that.
Good.
Beautiful, beautiful, such a nice, heart-attracting little katha today. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going on this. I feel a little uncomfortable, a little concerned. As Jaguar put it nicely, said that I feel sad seeing how it seems necessary to constantly defend yourself in these topics with the Astra Srila Prabhupada's quotes.
Yeah.
It's natural because we have growing pains in our society, and we're just starting to come to a certain point of something, and just wanting to understand it. And for so long, people just said it's not even legal to understand it. But of course it's legal. It's Krishna book. It's Tulsi prayers. It's not such a thing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop. And yeah, I said to Hari Prabhu, thanks. I was just thinking about maybe not putting these on Facebook, but leaving them on YouTube. We'll see. All right. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol, Vanchakalpadurubhischa, Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo.